So Opus Users is part of the efforts by the university to promote entrepreneurial thinking on campus. And, we're part of the commercialization efforts. We have the curricular activities, co-curricular activities. I'm sure many of us know about Sigma for the engineers. So Opus is also part of the efforts to make entrepreneurial thinking a thing, or to promote it on campus and to promote it among the users community. So we're not alone. We're part of something big, and also part of the bigger Saskatchewan innovation ecosystem. Among other bodies or incubators like Cultivator and Collabs. I'm sure many of us must have heard about Collabs. So we're also part of a bigger body. So we'll just be moving right into our workshop session. And the major reason for this topic is to show and just help us understand how a company or a business that will thrive can be born from just an idea. I'm sure that a lot of us have heard this quote that ideas rule the world by Francis Bacon. It's a quote by Francis Bacon. So even businesses, even large corporations that we know about, they all come from an idea, right? And this idea is not, when we have a business idea or an idea for a business, there are so many other building blocks, that would need to be put together to make sure that it becomes a business. So we're just going to briefly touch on those building blocks and then focus on ideation, because we don't really have much time. So we'll focus on ideation and, practice some of the things that we'll be learning in this session. So how many of us, okay, of course, I know we have, but can anyone define entrepreneurship? Just, no definition is wrong. It can come from any perspective. So, any volunteers? Like when you hear entrepreneurship or entrepreneur, what comes to mind?
Starting your own business.
Starting your own business, okay? Yeah. Okay, turning ideas into profit, yes, another perspective. All right, awesome. Thank you so much for that. Can anybody become an entrepreneur? Good. That's very definite and very sure. Okay, any other perspective? Is entrepreneurship for everybody? Can everybody become an entrepreneur? Okay, if you're ready to put in the work. Yeah. 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 Okay. So if you're ready to put in the work, if you have an idea and you're ready to run with it. Okay, yes, I agree. Right? I agree. And just like Peter Drucker also, says, it's a discipline that can be learned, right? And even if one does not become an entrepreneur at the end of the day, everybody can learn to think like an entrepreneur. I don't know if we've heard of this term, intrapreneurship. Anybody? So sometimes, some people might not become entrepreneurs, right? But they get employed into organizations. And, because of the ideas, and perspectives that they bring to make things better in that organization, they are referred to as intrapreneurs. Like, they don't own the business, but they think like entrepreneurs. They think about ways to better the business and ways to contribute. So in a way, they're practicing entrepreneurship, but in an organization. So that's why, we refer to them as intrapreneurs. So it's a discipline that can be learned. anybody can learn to think like an entrepreneur. And this is what, the university is making efforts towards doing, with programs like Opus, that's helping everyone to, develop that entrepreneurship mindset, right? So many times when we hear entrepreneur, people think about, an innovator, like someone that comes up with this brilliant idea, this brilliant business, think Bill Gates, all those big names and big companies, right? But, the underlying factor, among all these things, like an entrepreneur is someone who manages the business risks at the end of the day, right? So no matter how we refer to them as innovators, marketers, makers, developers, the crux of the matter is that they always manage the business risk. So, right. In thinking about entrepreneurship, some researchers, have always tried to pinpoint and to find out, and to share, to share and ask, what are these traits, or what are the traits that makes entrepreneurs? What is the mindset that makes for a successful entrepreneur? And, in this book called 5 Minds for the Entrepreneurial Future by Thomas Dunning, there were these 5 mindsets that were identified, to be said that these are the 5 mindsets that makes one an entrepreneur, or that distinguishes the entrepreneur from everyone else. We have the opportunity recognizing mind. One of the things that, makes an entrepreneur successful, is that ability to recognize opportunities. For example, if we're all stuck in a desert, just, in the scorching heat, and, somebody finds water in a corner, the first thing that comes to the mind of an entrepreneur is how to package the water and sell it, because they know that other travelers will pass through the desert and they'll be thirsty, right? So, in the midst of chaos, in the midst of, confusion, or in the midst of, difficult situations, most times the entrepreneur recognizes an opportunity. We also believe, from this book, the researchers also believe that the entrepreneur has the designing mind. Now, in the startup world of digital technology, which is where, I have my background in, most times when one has a business idea, right, they try to build the team, But before that is done, before they have, different people for different skills, the entrepreneur finds himself or herself wearing many hats. You would see somebody who, is well-versed and has a, business background, also doing the digital marketing aspect, creating the pitch deck, just doing everything, like, using different skills to make sure that the business actually kicks off, right? So the entrepreneur is someone who, is ready to, wear many hats and sees the big picture. The reason why the entrepreneur is ready to do everything, to make the business work, is because he sees the bigger picture. He or she sees the bigger picture, like how this business is going to succeed. And so, they are ready to develop themselves to make sure that, they are able to, do everything possible, even if it means wearing different hats. Like we said earlier, the entrepreneur is a risk manager for the business, manages the risk of the business. And one thing that we cannot take away from successful entrepreneurs in their journey is that they are resilient. they are not ready to stop, but always, are encouraged to keep going, even when things are tough. We also, based on that research, another mindset recognizes that the entrepreneur has the effectuating mind, which means that they take action. They take action. How many of us have thought about business ideas just crossing through our minds, or even maybe, when we're sleeping, or maybe when we're taking a walk? Like, have we ever had that, stuff that we just thought about and we're like, I think I have this is a business idea. I don't know if has that happened to anyone, just by a show of hands? Oh, so we're so many. Yes, it happens to everyone. But what makes an entrepreneur is actually action, right? Anybody can think about anything. I think there was even a time that I was having a conversation with somebody, and the person is a university student, and the person was saying that, what, I have this idea. I want to create a platform where students can be able to exchange stuff that they don't need for what they need. Just a casual conversation. And it's very funny that some days later, I was in another place and someone came to pitch that exact business. That this is my business idea, I need this amount, and this is what I want to do. The exact thing that someone else said. So many times, the business idea that comes to your mind comes to the minds of a lot of people, right? But what makes one become an entrepreneur, called an entrepreneur, is actually by taking action and, making that idea kick off. Now we move on to the building blocks of entrepreneurship. We have a business idea and we want it to become a company, or we want it to become a business. There are 5 things or 5 blocks that must be put together to make sure that, that happens and becomes a reality. After ideation, there's the aspect of market research and analysis, which is where, we begin to ask questions like creating the business model canvas and things like that, which we wouldn't be going into in details because of the short time. There's business planning that is important because, if one has to go the route of, getting funding to kick off, one needs a business plan, even to document that idea, for action. A business plan is important. Also, funding. Now, if one wants to create that company, it has to be done with money, right? And there are different ways to get money. The easiest being from family and friends. Government, that might be tricky, but those options are available. Grants, I know a lot of us must have seen pitching competitions where people, have to compete for a certain amount of money. I have had my own share of, that exercise in trying to raise funding for my business, and also legal considerations. But our focus for today would be on ideation. And in discussing this ideation, we would be focusing on, how to fine-tune a business idea. That's what we'll be doing today. So when you think about a business idea, I just wish that those online, I could feel their pulse, like to know if they're following the session. Are you okay? So if they have any question, they're free to drop it in the chat. Okay, so when you think about a business idea, like, what comes to mind? Like, how can you define it? I know my own definition is right here on the screen, but like, what else comes to mind? Anyone? Well, I guess we'd have to stick with this definition that we have here. It's solution to a problem, right? It's the solution to a problem. Business idea is a solution to a problem. It's as simple as it sounds, whenever an entrepreneur wants to, pitch or wants to talk about the business, one of the questions that is always asked is, what is the problem, right? So what problem are you trying to solve? It's in answering that question that, you're able to say, this is my business idea. So a business idea is the solution to a problem. Solution to a problem. Now, how do we generate business ideas? Sometimes, of course, those ideas come to our minds, but there's always a reason why those ideas come to our minds. There's always a reason why. It doesn't just come. It might be because we're thinking about something and boom, we have this idea to solve the problem. Now, there are different techniques that we'll be talking about today. And one of the ways to identify a business idea is through the problem-solving approach, which is what I mentioned. You see a problem and you think of the fastest way or the best way to resolve or to solve that problem. That's the problem-solving approach. And when we even get that idea, most times we want to get the perspective of others. We want to find out, if what we're thinking about is realistic, really, and if we would even be able to get people to buy, this solution that we're trying to prefer. So that is where we now have brainstorming, and that can happen among, friends, amongst colleagues, or even amongst, just like we are, in the university. You have an idea for something and you have, a couple of friends. You can get different perspectives, through brainstorming and having conversations, and that idea can become fine-tuned, to become, something more definite, to say this is what we're now trying to build. Another way that, business ideas can be generated is by following passions and interests. I met someone, in Europe, a middle-aged man who just liked to sail. Like, he loved boats a lot. It's something that, he's passionate about. He just likes to be on the water. And then he started this business that is, quite successful over there. And it's from his passion. What is the business? It's like a rental service for fishing boats. And that stemmed out of his own personal interests and his, passions. So that is another way of, getting a business idea by thinking about what you really like to do, and, creating a business out of it. Also improving, existing solutions, existing businesses. That's another way of, for example, we have this wall sockets, right? We have this wall socket here, and maybe, of course, those things exist right now, but, when you go to different countries, there are different ways that the socket adapters, like the way the heads actually look. Now, this is already an existing solution, but the person who created the different variations of those sockets can be said to, have thought about it from an existing solution. We also are able to generate business ideas from collaboration, networking, and this comes from attending events, like the one we'll be hosting at Opus, through attending hackathons, and so many events in the ecosystem where get to listen to different perspectives, get to hear from different people, and collaborate and network with people across all disciplines and expertise. And from there, a business idea or a business can be born. Another way is by identifying underserved markets. You know that maybe there's a remote region, or that might not be applicable to Canada since it's a developed country. But for example, you go to an underdeveloped place and you discover that there's a particular solution that is lacking in that place. One can get a business idea by identifying those markets that do not have access to certain services and taking those services to those places. A business idea can be born from that. Now, I'll share my own story. I co-founded the biggest educational technology platform in Africa for tutoring. How did we build this business? How did the idea come about? My co-founder had an experience that forever changed our lives. He lived just 3 blocks away from a student who had been struggling with mathematics. But my co-founder always had a perfect score in math, 100%. If there was anything more than A+, he always had it. But his neighbor needed a tutor and had searched and searched without getting any, not knowing that the solution that he needed was right beside him, until a mutual friend introduced them, and said, "Oh, meet Godwin. Godwin, won the mathematics hackathon in Lagos, Nigeria, and this is his background. He can teach your son mathematics." And he taught his son mathematics for about, a month, 2 months, 3 months. And at the end of those 3 months, what he got was, "Oh, thank you so much. I'm really grateful. My son has passed his exams." And he wasn't paid for a very long time. He was old. So this is 2 problems that we identified. Not the neighbor not being able to find a tutor, and the aspect of payment protection that was lacking. He had thought he expected prompt payments, but didn't get the prompt payments, even after the result had been gotten. And then we had a conversation where he narrated this experience to me. And I also shared my own experience with him, of how I, teach students for free, because, it's one of the things that I love to do. And we had to just sit down and fine-tune this idea. We had a brainstorming session, and we invited the 3rd person, the chief technical officer currently, who was good with programming. And we decided that, there's an opportunity here. And that was how Tutera was born. So these are the steps that we're taking. Someone saw a problem, experienced a problem, and saw that there was a solution to this problem, and saw that there was a market for the solution that he was preferring. So now there are 2 different aspects. The aspect of connecting qualified tutors to students who needed them, and protecting the payments of the teachers. So we came up with this platform where the parents or whoever it is, the learner, had to pay upfront to what was like a banking system. And it was saved for them, for the teachers at the end of the lessons, who got paid promptly. And then there was the platform that, just gave the opportunity to search for any subject and put in your address, and then you'll be connected to a qualified teacher who has already been pre-qualified, and pre-vetted. So that was how we were able to build the business. And the business is currently running with an estimated revenue of about $1 million per annum. That was how we were able to build the business. And it's time for us to build our own. So what we are going to do now is that we are going to, I think we're not many, so this is just going to be one group, and then those online, I would share the questions with them. This is for them. So we're going to be asking some questions. I know when I asked, if any of us has ever thought of a business idea randomly, a lot of us, we're able to put up our hands. So we're going to create like a demo company, using the techniques for idea generation. We're going to talk about, those problems that we've identified around us in our communities, or something that has just come to mind, and would ask ourselves these questions and come up with a demo company together. So this is the workshop time now. We have come to the end of this session. However, if you have questions about your business ideas and you want to develop the ideas further, or even if it's not the idea we talked about here, we have an upcoming event on June 14. Have you seen this anywhere on campus? This flyer on the screens, anywhere? You have? Yeah, good, yeah. Because I know that they're on some of the screens on campus. So you can just use your phone and scan the barcode that I'll be sharing. It's a networking event where, Comic-Con style. I'm sure many of us know superheroes like Spider-Man, Batman. So in this case, we're presenting the Canadian incubators and accelerators based in Saskatchewan. They're coming in to answer all your questions about entrepreneurship, starting a business, anything about business ideas and that you want to, learn about or know about, or, questions that have been going through your mind about entrepreneurship. This is the place to be. They are going to answer your questions, and, they have experiences, helping entrepreneurs launch profitable companies. Janlene here is going to be speaking at the event with another, along with other speakers from incubators in Saskatchewan, incubators and accelerators. So to attend this event, you can just register right now by scanning the QR code and booking your slots. We have a good number of registrations so far. And, the event promises to be an unforgettable one. an unforgettable one. You get the opportunity to just ask away, get ideas, get insights, to kick that idea off the ground. And please, you're free to share this with your friends and colleagues and associates, anyone and everyone that you believe would benefit from this event. It's on June 14, 5:30 p.m. And it's also an opportunity for you to see the Opus space at Collider. I promise you it's a very cool space. So I will invite you to, attend. So I always leave with this quote, for entrepreneurship, that, true success actually comes from taking action and persevering through challenges. In entrepreneurship, even when you decide that you're going to work on that business idea, there will be challenges. That's a given. But there's always light at the end of the tunnel, right? And we need to persevere and keep pushing, especially when we think about our customers whose problem we're solving. That's one of the motivations that enables us to keep pushing, to persevere through challenges, and success, will come as a result of that. So for your questions, you can just put it on the form when you scan the QR code, and also come and ask during the Ideas Exchange Forum. We have seasoned experts who would be there to answer all your questions. So you can stay connected with us, through these channels, our social media, and also by joining our online community. So we're on social media, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're everywhere you go. So feel free to stay connected with us. Thank you so much for your time today. And it was nice being here and just sharing. Thank you very much.